Did you see Donald Trump just tear up the Bank of America CEO right in front of his face? Folks, this made this an international story, and now people are paying attention to the censoring that happened and the debanking. That's the power of the pulpit. Check this out. So you understand why this is important? The debanking by a number of banks is a very real phenomenon we all know happened. Don't bullshit us, okay? Everybody knows it happened. When you win the presidency, you have the biggest bully pulpit in the world. Whatever Donald Trump says is news. He's the president. Whatever he said before was news, but not to this extent. You've got bank regulators now who are unquestionably on watch. Like, did this really happen where people cancel for political reasons, which a lot of people suspect happened? This is the power of the bully pulpit. This is why there is no substitute for winning. Anyone telling you, oh my gosh, we're going to lose this, but it'll build political momentum for next time, bullshit. There is no substitute for winning. The bully pulpit matters. This has now become, if you go on social media, a huge topic of discussion, the debanking efforts by a lot of these, what I believe were liberal banking institutions that effed over conservatives. A couple people in the chat said it was glorious. Yeah, it was. Tell it like it is. You're damn right. It was awesome. This is the benefit of having a, quote, lame duck president. He doesn't have anything to lose, and the most dangerous people in the world are people with nothing to lose. Here's Trump yesterday, again, same speech, just filleting these global collectivist Green New Deal watermelon policies. Watermelon, yeah, green on the outside, commie red on the inside. Everybody knows this is a scam. Everybody knows this is a proxy for communism. That's where the watermelon comes from, green on the outside, red on the inside. Everybody knows it. Here he has taken it to the Green New scam. Check this. Now, the World Economic Forum collectivists lost their shit over this. They lost it because folks, their term for all this, their buzz term is collective action. Collective action is a proxy term for globalists. What they mean is individual countries shouldn't act in their own best interest. They should act in the best interest of the globe, collectivist action. Of course, that's ridiculous because different countries have different governing systems. Some of them are totalitarian, authoritarian. The United States needs to take care of the United States first. But because the United States is the richest country in the world, because of our system of our constitutional republic and our entrepreneurial free market system, the collectivists around the world hate us. So they want this leveling equity bullshit where they take all that, they basically take the spoils of our hard work. It happens not just at the individual level where people want to tax, the so-called rich to pay people who don't work. It happens around the globe too. That's what they mean by collective action. I want you to watch this WEF elite here, losing her shit over this. They were in full panic mode. And I want you to listen at the end where she says, hey, the best thing we can do is ignore this stuff. You're going to ignore the United States? Are you sure? You tell people cross the border illegally and we're going to deport you. And you start the deportation flights. And shocker, people don't want to come here. This is not hard. President Donald Trump signed a number of border security measures on Monday. Folks, there's a line of people now trying to get back to Mexico and other countries who are here illegally. None of this is surprising. Why? Check this video out from Fox. This is Bill Malugin talking about roundups starting already. There's a way not to get involved in a roundup. Don't break the law and come here illegally. This isn't hard. I don't hate anybody. My wife's a legal immigrant in the country. But if she had to follow the rules, then damn it, so do you. This isn't difficult. Check this out. I'm not going back. Folks, let me ask you a question. What sane American objects to this, an MS-13 member in the country illegally? So he's a criminal for entering the country illegally, period. But then there's accusations that this guy is apparently some significant gang member in the United States who's going to cause a bunch of chaos because I told you yesterday a small group of people caused an inordinate amount of violent crime. Who is going to object to this? The answer is crazy people are going to object to this. But there's a new sheriff in town. I'm going to circle back to the beginning of the show because I can't say it enough. Some people disagreed with me. Dan, we don't need Donald Trump. We need DeSantis. We need Haley. I love DeSantis. Again, not a huge fan. I do. I love Ron DeSantis. I got a video of him coming up. He's fantastic. I just didn't think it was his time, period. D, how much did that bother me? We had all these good sense. I'm like, guys, I love the guy. It's just not his time. Donald Trump has 4 more years to get things done. He is going to come in the FO portion of the F around. And this is exactly what he's doing. Do you see now the benefit of it? All right, I'm beating this up. But look at the people he hired too. Here's his press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, who I adore. Here she is saying, hey man, this is just the beginning. Like, we're not done. This thing has just started. You don't like it. Like, get on the train or get run over by it. Check this out. I love this woman. I saw her at a Miami Heat game down in Miami. I think she's a Celtics fan. And it was the finals. And she yells across. She probably remembers this. Bongino! Anyone who calls you only by your last name, I love you right away. It's like a New York thing and a Boston thing. This woman is going to be a total ball buster, and I mean that in a good way. This is what's happening right now. Now, I want you to notice something in addition. Here's a couple of the educational portions of the edutainment portion of the show, educational entertainment. We talked about political territorial jurisdiction. That is not a settled argument, okay? Anyone telling you that is lying to you. They're not. If they're lawyers, they should be disbarred because they're too stupid. Another thing I want to address is it's interesting. Now, I know the left isn't the hierarchy and they don't care about hypocrisy, but it's still up to us to propose to the normies out there and to show them how hypocritical the left is. Do you remember when Arizona back in 2010 instituted SB 1070? The left called it the Show Me Your Papers law. And they basically said Arizona law enforcement officials can involve themselves in the immigration function. Do you guys remember that? Jan Brewer, it was a long time ago. You may not. It doesn't really matter. If you don't remember it, the left went crazy and said Arizona cannot enforce immigration law. It is a federal issue. And they fought like crazy. There are thousands of hours of video on this.
All right, it's Monday, January 27, 2025, and new polling just out shows Trump is the most popular two-term president thus far in U.S. polling history. Something Kate Baldwin of CNN seems to have a real big problem with. We're going to show you. Also, Trump just won his first trade war with Colombia, winning it in less than 10 hours after President Petro effed around and found out, capitulating 100% to Trump's terms. But the craziest thing about this whole story, what we learned, is that Colombia's president is a raging Marxist. Wait till you see this. Also, some stunning news out of LA. Mayor Karen Bass backing President Trump all of a sudden. What? And more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So it's been 1 week since Trump was inaugurated, and it has been the most effective week in government I've ever seen. I knew Trump's team was organized and prepared. They've been planning for this for years, but they are outperforming my wildest dreams. They're doing that good of a job. And I'm not just trying to be some Trump fanboy here, because I'm really not. If he did something wrong, I'd say it, but he is kicking ass and taking names. In 1 week, reversing almost all of the insane progress that the Biden administration made. It's really happening, folks. I can't even keep up. And the people, the American people, know it's happening. They support it. Even hardcore liberals, real liberals, not these new age communists, real liberals like Bill Maher, publicly endorsing Donald Trump now because they know how scary the alternative is. He's eliminating the policing of information, the policing misinformation complex, rooted it out of government, completely shuttered all DEI offices, closed the southern border, found the missing 300,000 children, secured that ceasefire in the Middle East, declassified the JFK files, ended the incessant political lawfare of the last 4 years, fired 90% of the deep state bureaucrats that the Biden administration tried to slip into place. He's brought common sense back to the United States. In fact, new polling just dropped shows this, proves this, showing Trump is now the most popular two-term president in U.S. history. Watch Harry Enton break this down, this new polling, and Kate Baldwin, the anchor over there at CNN, begin to panic and interject. She can't hold herself back. This is so great. Watch. It's because he's following through on his promises. He's ignoring the legacy media, realizing that people see right through it now. It's not even worth his time or energy to fight with them. Legacy media's been neutered, clipped, their influence shattered. In another story, yesterday, Trump wrapped up and won the fastest trade war in history. Just after 10 p.m. last night, the Colombian president, who it turns out is a full-fledged Marxist, ended up bending the knee and capitulating to all of Trump's terms. And if you just saw the headlines but don't know the details about this, you got to hear this crazy story. The White House announcing last night that Colombia has agreed to all of Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of all illegal aliens from Colombia returned from the United States, including on U.S. military aircraft, without limitation or delay. This was started by Colombia, by Colombia's president, President Petro, who refused to allow 2 U.S. military flights to land on Colombian soil. The 2 U.S. military flights were full of illegal migrants, illegal Colombian migrants Trump was repatriating back to their country. These were Colombian citizens he refused. Some of the worst who were arrested by ICE this week. Well, Colombian President Petro tried to be a tough guy, this raging at the mouth racist and Marxist, just effed around and found out. Trump posting this on Truth Social yesterday. I was just informed that 2 repatriation flights from the U.S. with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. This order was given by Colombia's socialist president Gustavo Petro, who was already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the U.S., so I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. Number 1, emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the U.S. In 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. Number 2, a travel ban and immediate visa revocations on the Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters. Number 3, visa sanctions on all party members, all of their family members and supporters of the Colombian government. Number 4, enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. Number 5, Treasury, banking, and financial sanctions to be fully imposed. Trump posted that while playing golf. He's not messing around. 30 minutes later, Colombia's president posts this long, crazy response on X. I'm not going to read all of it, but it turns out the guy's a full-blown whack job. Complete socialist. Petro wrote this: I don't like your oil, Trump. You're going to wipe out the human species because of greed. Maybe one day, though, over a glass of whiskey, which I accept despite my gastritis, we can talk frankly about this, but it's difficult because you consider me an inferior race, and I'm not, nor is any Colombian. Your blockade does not scare me because Colombia, besides being the country of beauty, is the heart of the world. I'm informed that you just imposed a 50% tariff on the fruits of our human labor to enter the U.S., so I do the same. That was around 1 p.m. Eastern time yesterday. A full-blown trade war broke out. Well, 10 hours later, and he completely caved. By 10 p.m., Colombia accepted all, I repeat, all of Trump's terms. Watch this. In another story, Mayor Karen Bass bending the knee, reopening Pacific Palisades to residents starting today, starting Monday. 2 days after President Trump scolded Karen Bass on live TV for refusing to allow her people to access their homes, to access their own properties. She announces that Pacific Palisades will be completely reopened to residents during daylight hours, starting Monday, January 27th, today. Good riddance. This is what Trump said on Friday to her face, which he received a roaring round of applause for from the residents on the ground. Watch this. In another story, both of Trump's most vulnerable cabinet nominees will be getting back-to-back confirmation hearings in the Senate this week. RFK Jr., who Trump nominated to be Secretary of HHS, and Tulsi Gabbard, his nominee for DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, one of the most powerful positions in all of government, will have hearings this week on Wednesday and Thursday. Kennedy, he's going to be questioned in front of the Senate Finance Committee, and then afterward, that committee is going to vote whether to advance his nomination to the full Senate. Now, I'm concerned about RFK Jr., but I'm much more concerned for Tulsi, who will be sitting in front of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Thursday morning. This is a very powerful committee. The members of this committee, a lot of them, do the bidding of the IC. What I'm hearing is they want her to publicly acknowledge and approve of FISA Section 702. That's the FISA section that permits warrantless surveillance of American citizens. Warrantless. Something Tulsi is wholeheartedly opposed to. If she wants any chance at being confirmed, apparently she's going to have to flip her position publicly, which I'm told she's prepared to do. We're going to keep you posted on this. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Here's Donald Trump getting into it with NBC's Peter Alexander yesterday, another deep state hack here, loser, who tries to interrupt the president on this very matter. Donald Trump sticks it right to him, just like he should. Watch this.
Take a look.
You see what he does there? You see how good Donald Trump is at this? He takes the question, which is not a question, it's an assertion. When did you stop beating your wife? He doesn't answer it. He turns the question on its head, and he asks Peter Alexander the question. When are you going to go after BLM and Antifa and others and the people who are really causing these problems? When are you going to stop this chaos? When are you going to advocate for law and order in the streets of liberal cities that were burned down? That's the question. Folks, the process used to target these people was clearly political. If it wasn't political, then how is it that if you were there on January 6th Pick the worst of offenders. Pick someone who, there were some videos, someone who, say, attacked a police officer. The word, I do not condone, obviously, that stuff at all. Matter of fact, I condemn it resolutely. But there is zero doubt that when the White House was attacked by BLM and Antifa, and Secret Service agents and uniformed division officers I know personally were hurt and wounded, that absolutely nothing happened to these people at all. So you can have two simultaneous thoughts at the same time, and I want you to pay attention to this. You can and should say, I am absolutely, resolutely against attacks on law enforcement for doing their job. Period there. But I am also against a greater danger, which is a weaponized Justice Department that picks and chooses when they take this stuff seriously and targets political opponents for it. And that's what happened here. I love watching the left-wing media, by the way. They're interviewing people and family members involved with the J6 prisoners here. So Alex Wagner from MSNBC decides to go out and conduct an interview here. What she's trying to do is make the story about Donald Trump to even the January 6 families and others involved, saying, hey, man, don't you feel like this guy abandoned you? Let's just say Alex Wagner does not get the answer to the question she wants. Check this out.
Was there ever any moment in it?
Let me ask you a question. Who seems more reasonable there? The hack, loser, MSNBC host trying to get a story out of a person being interviewed there, trying to frame Donald Trump for this thing? Or the woman answering the question who sounds totally logical and reasonable and just absolutely fillets Alex Wagner? Who sounds more reasonable there? Always measure the impact of what you're doing by the response of your political enemies. This is not a hard truth to digest in your manual of political truths. If they're losing their minds over something, it's for a reason.
Have you seen the videos of them actually making it rain by using drones to seed the weather in Abu Dhabi, I think it is, or maybe one of the other rich areas of the world? Now, in China and other countries, they have very openly seeded the weather, seeded clouds for a very long time. They know that they're spraying chemicals down on the population. Nobody cares. They're just happy to have some rain out there. I might cover this more if we do a live show tonight, but we also have a lot of people saying that what happened to the 24-hour ending of the Ukrainian war as soon as President Trump got into office. There are Russians inside of the United States of America creating events of sabotage. We do have reports all along the southern border that the Russians have infiltrated into other southern states. So maybe watch out for something big to happen there in the next couple of days. Rep. Chuck Edwards, he called on the FEMA director recently, said they must resign and do so in disgrace. Dozens of families and small children are still suffering. Hundreds of people are still suffering all across the region. You have people suffering in California, in Florida, North Carolina, Louisiana, and some other states. Do they care? Absolutely not. Elon Musk says that the system that Soros built over decades is anti-civilizational. I don't think one can describe everything, ascribe, he says, everything to Soros. And George himself, he's senile at this point, says Elon Musk. He's non-compos mentis. His son Alex is in charge. But then there's this whole system that he built over many decades. I guess he and like-minded people believe in open borders. They believe we shouldn't prosecute crime. This is insane. It's anti-civilizational. Now he says that there's been a push for Europe and other countries to also do what they can. So inside of the USA in the last 72 hours, maybe a little bit more, we've seen a huge shift. ICE is going in and taking people out of concerts and churches and everywhere else. ICE is posting what could be accounted to as bounties all across the country. You have the federal government partaking in this. We might go to the Wild West here soon. It's going to be an interesting time. Marco Rubio says that it was a dangerous delusion to believe that mankind was destined to abandon national sovereignty and national identity and instead become citizens of the world. The post-war global order is not just obsolete, it is now a weapon that is being used against civilians. Let me read that again because that's really deep. There's a lot of information in that we really need to get past their programming and let it sink into our brains. It was a dangerous delusion to believe that mankind was destined to abandon national sovereignty. So that's the idea that, you don't have a country anymore. Your country is part of NATO. Your country is part of the Asian Pacific protectionist countries, or your country is part of the BRICS. That's the idea. He says, or to abandon national identity. Instead, you become a citizen of the world. The post-war global order is not just obsolete, it is a weapon being used that is being used against us. So after World War I, World War II, there was a new order that came about. Now in that, there was a leader, the United States of America, the banks behind the USA and World War II's wins, all of the bounties and all the loot that they got from all of the countries they ransacked. So what's going to happen with this next war? It's anybody's guess, guys. The U.S. has more fancy apartments than it can fill, according to a Wall Street Journal report. National multifamily apartment vacancy rates have reached their highest levels in decades. Luxury, which is 4 to 5 star apartments, some of these are going for $5,000 per month. Could you imagine paying $60,000 a year just to live in this place where you are still told what you can and can't do? Your music's too loud, you can't have a dog, your cat scratched the wall. It's not yours, and it never will be. But yet you're paying 60 grand a year. Now these luxury units have 12% vacancy rates, double that of the affordable units. Cities like Austin see vacancy rates as 15%. So what happens here? It's that old analogy I gave you. If you're selling bicycles and you have 5 bikes to sell and you're selling them for $10 a piece, what's the max profit you can make if you sell out? $50. But if you're selling them for $30 a piece, you only need to sell 2 of them to make more money than you could selling them all at $10 a piece. So that's what these corporations are doing. I've got a friendly reminder here that says if your income has not risen by 23 to 34% since COVID hit, you are poorer. No matter what social media outlets say, no matter what the news organizations say, no matter what the politicians say, if your income has not risen by 23 to 34% since COVID hit, you are poorer. And that's using government data. The real number is more likely 35 plus. Now that's saying that everything across the board has gone up. Look, Netflix is charging more again. These people, they know no shame. Biden recently talking about that oligarchy. We do have a lot of other people saying that what's coming in the next couple of weeks is going to be something that shapes the United States of America and all North America for decades. Now, I did just read a military report talking about artificial intelligence and the infrastructure and what's going on there. The military, in press reports, is saying we are going to need the private sector for this. So if you do want to know where your tax money is going to go instead of Ukraine, instead of Israel, it's probably going to go to infrastructure, power, and AI, computing inside the USA. Now, it's going to seem great for a while, and that's the great smoke and mirror, right? It's going to seem like what they're doing, what they're capable of, us being on top of the mountain, we're going to be the best, and we will. The problem is when that AI gets turned against you and against me. LA residents said that they had to go Wild West. Homeowners started patrolling their fire zones with guns. The LAPD set up their blockades during the recent fires in the Palisades. Now they said that they must organize private water trucks and armed patrols, taking matters into their own hands. Homeowners got their water truck through police lines by putting call-ins through the police to Governor Newsom. One person lost everything but their chimney. Now they have to sleep in their SUV. Now they get paid by their neighbors with existing homes to protect their homes. I could be having a Manhattan, a steak, but I couldn't live with myself if my neighbor's house went up because of arsonists. So here you have the people of this state taking matters into their own hands. And that goes along the lines with what I've told you. Vigilantism, self-defense, protectionism among the people without law enforcement, without National Guard. Those are things that you're going to see a lot more of very soon. And remember, you heard about that here, full spectrum survival. You're not going to hear about it in many other places. You heard about it here. Now, maybe Nate, Canadian Prepper, he's talking a lot about what's going to happen down here at our side of the land. We just have to watch out. So guys, remember, if you're not a member already at Full Spectrum Survival, down there by the subscribe button, it says join. You can join our memberships. Our members have asked, please, if you're going to make extra content like the live shows, put them out for everybody. They're willing to do that for everybody else. So thank you so much. But please, if you do have the capability, support my family. This is a very small run thing. Please support my family. Make sure that we can continue to provide beyond what you see anywhere else. Information that you can really make decisions on. Global banks going to cut 200,000 jobs within the next 3-year period. They say artificial intelligence is going to encroach on the many tasks that are carried out by human-only workers. According to Bloomberg Intelligence and other information outlets, we will see a cutting just in the banking system of 200,000 jobs in the next 3-year period. Home builders in America have a big problem. They currently have a record number of homes for sale. Domestic migration into the South is starting to drop off. The result, they have a huge overhang of builder inventory. Now they're going to see home prices pushed down. They say, watch out for 2025. Things are going to get worse. And if this is problematic for builders, it's really problematic for the banks. Local buying states like Tennessee and Florida got that Zelensky itch, huh? What's up with that, Zelensky? Texas have been priced out of the market. Continued appreciation in these states is reliant on a continual influx of new home buyers. They say that a supposed shortage of housing changes everything. Now, we know that they are taking hedge fund money, and they're taking government money and tax money and buying up all of your houses. They don't care about you. Still recovering from the shortage, according to the domestic migration report. South to new homes for sale, and builders in the area say that things are about to get worse. What you can see is that in the long run, the 35-year average is going to move. In 2024, we saw the lowest of all time. Builders weren't, at recent years, able to build enough, and now we have an overage. Builders are deciding to put all their eggs in one basket, and this housing cycle is turning out to be one of the last ones we will see. I'm hearing a lot of that. A lot of people are saying that this is kind of the last hoorah. It's the last gun show of the Federal Reserve. They can't pull out many more magic tricks like they did to get us out of our recent economic problems. It's the last hoorah, the last magic show of the corporate environment, where these corporations are able to charge you way more money than they should while paying their employees way too little money. I feel so bad, guys. I don't eat McDonald's personally or any fast food like that, but I feel so bad for the people who they really have to deal with the worst. They get the worst of it. While these corporations make huge net profits, and they get the worst of it. That just makes me sick. And if it makes me sick and I'm not even in that environment, can you imagine the hate that is growing in the hearts of humans? That hate is growing steady and strong. So we have to combat it, right? We have to be beacons, like lighthouses in the darkness. You have to be a flashlight that shows everybody else that there are other ways. Homesteading, prepping, survivalism, self-sufficiency, whatever it is, there are other ways. And number one is knowledge, right? Continue to watch what's happening around this world so that you can make good decisions for your family. And that's what we do here, Full Spectrum Survival, only on YouTube. We are bringing you information every day so that you can make those decisions. So thank you for being here and watching us. Thank you all of our members. And please, everyone, stay safe out there. We're starting to see a breaking up of the old establishment. A new one is rising out of the ashes, but a lot of the people, including economists and strategists who are delivering information to the military for the United States of America, say that we're going to need to see a complete crumbling of the old before a new one rises out of the ashes. Now, we are being lied to. There's no doubt about that. Modern health experts say some things that you need to do that your grandparents never did. They tell you to avoid seed oils, take supplements, do keto. Yet your grandparents were stronger and healthier than 90% of the people that are around today. Here's some forgotten things that we can remember that our grandparents used to do. They ate organ meats. They didn't think liver was gross. They knew it was medicine of some sort. There were 10 times more nutrient-dense foods in their diet than we have today. Things like being loaded with B vitamins. Foods rich in zinc and iron. They knew what they were doing. They ate bone broth. They never ate fake stuff from the store. In fact, they looked down on it. They would simmer bones for hours, not buy the broth in a box. They fermented their foods. They pickled their vegetables. Those types of things support digestion, keep you regular, boost your immunity. They ate real whole grains. They ate steel-cut oats, not sprayed with glyphosate. They didn't have sugar-packed foods in every type of meal group. Your grandparents didn't buy pre-washed bags of lettuce. They grew their own right in their backyard. They had real food, real nutrients. They ate beans and legumes. They were cheap and effective, simple foods, good for their bodies. They provided stable energy, quality protein, actual fiber, not supplementation. They had real dairy, a lot of times not even being pasteurized. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just what your grandparents did. They didn't eat as much processed foods. Your grandparents were not biohackers. They didn't have to try and regulate their immune system. They didn't need Instagram or nutritional advice. They ate real food. They lived hard but simple lives. They moved their bodies, and they were stronger and healthier for it. Now, I've seen a lot of reposts of what high school looked like during the early 1900s, the mid-1900s. And let me tell you, our grandparents would beat the dirt out of 90% of the people today, and that's when they were in high school. We do have enormous water reserves that were just discovered in the Oregon Cascades. Scientists uncovered a massive underground aquifer, they say. It stores 81 cubic kilometers of water, more than twice the volume of Lake Mead. This reservoir lies within volcanic rock. It plays a role in cooling down the region's geology. Now, the study's co-author says that corporations are going to attempt to tap into this water system. In home buying, we see home buying conditions collapsing to never before seen levels. I just want you to let that sink in for a minute. We have sources warning that H5N1, the avian influenza outbreak, is spreading to humans in China. They say China is allegedly seeing more infections than they are alluding to. According to a source that works in the Chinese disease monitoring and prevention sector, it's a little bit out of control there. Now, this is red light therapy. We talked a little bit about that with some green tea on one of our live shows. Guys, thank you for joining us in those live shows. What a great way to spend Friday night together. Walgreens says that their anti-shoplifting strategy of locking things up backfired. In a quote, they said, this is the CEO, "When you lock things up, you don't sell as many of them." We do see another hospital chain collapsing in the USA. This is raising questions about private equity's role in healthcare. This chain is Prospect Medical Holdings. 16 different hospitals across 4 states in the USA. They filed for bankruptcy. This mirrors Steward's Health collapse earlier this year. Both chains sold their hospital properties to Medical Properties Trust, leasing them back in deals that critics call financially extractive. They're not going to stop charging you $150 for a Band-Aid. What they are going to do is make your care less quality. Donald Trump has said poor folks are talking about global warming. It's going to global warm to a point where the oceans will rise an eighth of an inch in 355 years. In the meantime, we're spending our wealth on foolish things. He says wind power doesn't work. It's very expensive. It kills birds. It destroys everything around it. It's the most expensive energy we have. And then every 9 years, you have to replace the turbines, regardless of your opinion. We do have some people out there saying that this is correct. A massive forest fire in Argentina recently wreaked havoc. They say it's unprecedented how it tore through homes, businesses, and schools. It pushed with a relentless force. It burned over a course of weeks. The fire shows no sign of stopping. It escalated to a scale that has never been seen before, devoured dense, hard-to-reach vegetation, made containment exceedingly difficult. Does that sound and look like Los Angeles to you? The Food and Drug Administration recently banned the use of red dye number 3 used in thousands of food products. Why? It's made from petroleum. Red dye number 3 linked to cancer in animals. It gives beverages a bright cherry, red, sometimes pink color. The dye is still used in thousands of foods, cereals, cherries, fruit cocktails, strawberry-flavored milkshakes. Food manufacturers have all the way until 2027 to fix it. Now, tell me how that makes sense, okay? You know it's causing cancer. You know parents are feeding it to their children ignorantly, sometimes willfully. And yet you give them another 2 years to slowly phase out. And then there will be some stops and pauses, and whatever they make next is probably going to be worse. Mortgage demand in the USA has fallen to its lowest level. Guys, we bring you this news and information every single day so that you don't have to search the internet for 5-6 hours. No doom scrolling, no doom and gloom, no chaos. A little bit of doom and gloom, I guess, but no chaos scrolling. You'll know what's going on. You and your family can make sound decisions. So thank you for being here with us. Full Spectrum Survival, only on YouTube. Make sure you're already subscribed down there. Please join us as a member if you haven't already. And thank you to our members for saying whatever extra content we post, please make it available for everyone. Mortgage demand in the USA has fallen to its lowest level since 1995. Since the peak, we saw U.S. mortgage applications negative 63%. Home buyers have given up. They say that hedge funds are buying them out of every single house. The median U.S. household income is $83,000, $26,000, almost a quarter, almost 25% less than what's required to buy the average home in the USA. Now, you put this into perspective. At the 2006 housing bubble peak, the difference was only $10,000. The gap between the income you needed to buy a home and your annual income has never in history, even during the Great Depression, been worse than it is right now. Further emphasizing this shows that the housing market and existing home sales are causing a problem. Sales are down below the 2008 levels. Interest rates are high, record prices. They say that this is a lethal combination. Now, the average age of a home buyer is now 50 years old. It used to be 31. So that used to be part of the American dream turned nightmare, right? That you had the ability at your 30s to go buy a home. Maybe you'd be 60 by the time you paid it off. Now, the average home buyer is 50. It means if they live to 80, they'll pay off their home. So what we're doing is creating a system of never-ending payments. You'll own nothing. You'll be happy. Now, I don't know about you. I'm not very happy about what's going on in this country. The SM-3 Block 2A played a key role in the Missile Defense Agency's first test of an initial capability that was established on Guam to defend strategic islands in the Pacific from possible air threats from China. The interceptor, fired from a vertical launch system on the island, took out a medium-ranged, air-launched ballistic missile threat target. While the Missile Defense Agency, or the MDA, attempted to end the production in fiscal year 2025's budget, They say that we have to be prepared. This is Raytheon's Misty Holmes and others saying that we have to be prepared for a big war with China to come this year. Now, China just released that AI version that completely blew OpenAI out of the water. It took less computing power. It was trained on easier training tools. It's just a game changer. Can we fight with that? China already knows what day we're going to start World War III. Do you? So I'm getting ready for whatever day that might be. November's hiring rate, 3.3%, the lowest since the early 2000s when the U.S. was struggling after the Great Recession. People say, this is including Washington Post's Heather Long, it's very hard to get a job right now. U.S. health officials are making changes all across our country. Now, are they getting ready? There's so much garbage out here, guys. I don't even want to cover some of it for you. U.S. health officials are making changes to what happens to our kids, what they're exposed to, what kind of ideologies are driven to them in the school system. I have a lot of people asking every day, homeschool, 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 or alternative programs, or like-minded people, or what states should they go to? It's going to take a lot of research because this dynamic is changing very quickly. We're going to bring you as much reasonable information as we can every day on YouTube. Full Spectrum Survival. Thank you guys for being here with us. From my family to yours, please stay safe.